If you drive traffic to your clothing brand, but you aren't getting sales, your problem probably isn't your ads, it's your website. A lot of store owners think a good website just needs to look cool, but true seven-figure brands build their sites for conversion. So they use invisible psychological triggers and specific layout tricks to guide customers from just looking around to actually going to checkout. And the crazy thing is that you can copy 90% of these tactics right now on your existing Shopify store without learning how to code or have any crazy, big apps or anything into your store. There will be some apps in here, so just bear with me. I am going to show you 5 invisible website details that separate the pros from the amateurs and exactly how to implement them in your store today. Hey everyone, my name is Christian and I help clothing brands scale using Shopify. Here's the reality. You have about 3 seconds to convince a new visitor to stay on your website. If your navigation is confusing, if your photos are the wrong size, if your checkout feels kind of clunky, they are gone. So we're going to do a deep dive into the anatomy of a high converting website. We're talking about colors or logos today. We're actually talking about structure. We're talking about the invisible mechanics that actually make money. So open up your Shopify dashboard in another tab because you're going to want to follow along as we go through these things. So first things first is the above the fold fix. You want to stop using sliders. So let's start with the homepage, specifically the hero section. This is the first thing people see and the biggest mistake that I see beginners make. They have image sliders, aka carousels. You know those banners that slide automatically every 3 seconds? Stop using them. Here's why. They slow down your site, which actually ends up hurting SEO. And also human eyes ignore moving banners because we think they're usually ads, or there's a reason why it's called banner blindness, right? Like people tend to ignore things that are moving quickly, and you're essentially bringing less attention to it by having multiple types of messages flashing in their eyes right when they first load your website. And mobile users also hate them because they're sometimes hard to swipe because they're automatically already swiping, and if they're swiping with it, sometimes you can kind of double swipe, and don't do that. Now, this is interesting because by default, a lot of these themes, I have Palo Alto installed here, and by default, they have a slideshow there at the very top. And usually, they have like 2 slides so you can kind of see how this looks, right? Like a cool animation, the slide coming in and out. And I think, to be honest, it is a true 3 second, actually this is 4 second. It changes automatically, from slide to slide. But again, the recommendation here is remove that. Now, some themes allow you to just keep the slideshow section, if you will, and you just either hide or delete that additional slide. So you're just using the slideshow section, but you are just using a single slide. So that kind of creates that image banner. Now, if your theme doesn't have a slideshow feature, my suggestion would be to click on the plus side, to click on the blue plus button and either look for banner image. This one has, banner image, or a lot of times it's either going to be like image with text. So either one of those, banner or the word image or the word hero, you can all search for the section. And depending on what theme you're using, it's going to be a little bit different. But for this particular theme, we can technically use an image, or we can use banner image. Banner image automatically has like the headline, paragraph, button, sort of like section blocks already included within that section. So it's a little bit nicer. I can kind of start with some elements already pre-built in here. But again, with this theme, with Palo Alto, the one that I'm using as an example, I could technically still use a slideshow, just have a singular slideshow. But essentially what you want here is a high quality image, best-selling products, new arrivals, product actually being worn on person. One clear call to action, not 2 buttons, just one. Shop the new drop or shop bestsellers, and make the decision easy, right? If you give them 5 different options, they will choose none. You want to essentially navigate them through what they should be going to next after landing here on your homepage. The second invisible detail is how people find product. In clothing, availability is probably the biggest friction point, and there is nothing worse, or it's definitely a pet peeve, of going into a collection page and finding something that you love, you click on it, and then you realize the size is actually sold out. There's nothing more annoying than that. And 7-figure brands fix this by letting customers filter by size immediately. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go to a collection page here. We're gonna do default collection. This is where we technically have all of our collections. I'm gonna change the preview just so we can actually see some products in here. And then by default, you see here on the left-hand side, we have availability, price, color. We have size already built in right within here. And even with the size, you kind of see there's a S, small, and then I guess just look at small, medium, large. They all are separated into individual ones. That's because in the back end, we don't have any consistency, right? When we upload products, we kind of put, sometimes we put S, sometimes we put small, sometimes we put all caps small. So it creates this sort of clutter in here. But in order to even even get to this filtering here, there is an app that you're going to need. And that app is going to be Search and Discovery. Now, Search and Discovery is a free app made by Shopify, and it just gives you a few extra features here in the back end. And one of those features being the ability to do filters with your Shopify store. So a lot of times, let me go back to here on the theme. I think by default, this is already enabled. Now I'm going to hover over the collection pages. So again, depending on your theme, this may be called a little bit different, but it could be collection pages. It could be just collection or product section. Like, it's different for everything. But as long as you hover over where all the products are showing, you will more than likely see a little section inside of that. So for us, it's collection pages, and in here we have filters and sorting. By default, this is already enabled, but if it's not, then you just have to basically toggle that on to enable it. Pretty much all major themes have this feature, so you just have to look for it, enable it, and if you enable it and nothing shows, that means that you don't have Search and Discovery installed in the back end of your store. But a lot of times you enable it here, and then within here, you have the ability to maybe change up the look and feel of it a little bit. So for example, this allows us to say like all filters are closed, or all filters are open, or just the first filter is open. Depending on your theme, you may not have all these options. It may be a lot simpler. And then it looks like we have default, which is default faceted is what we want, because we would need that Search and Discovery app to get these to show up. So in the front end, this is what you'll be able to do. In the back end, let me open a new tab here. And since we already have Search and Discovery installed, we don't have to go through the process, but I will show you exactly where you would want to go. When you open Search and Discovery, you'll click on filters. And as you can see, we have a bunch of additional filters in here. For you, if you're opening this for the first time, you will see availability and price, I believe, are like the two default ones that show up automatically. But all these other ones I essentially just added. So all you have to do is just add filter. These things are already done in the back end of Shopify, because when you upload products, you upload all this information. So when you click on source, this will give you all the either product option, category meta fields, standard options, variant meta field for all of your products. So if we're looking for something like size, you'll see like we have a category meta field, and it doesn't show up the product option one, which is the one that I would recommend for size, is product option, because we already have it installed in here. Size. So if we click on that, when you click on size, it will give you the option to do the label, and then it will show you all of the size options that you currently have. And as you can see, because we are not consistent in the back end, this kind of shows you all the different options that we've called, the sizing. Now, you do have an option here to group them together and then keep it a little bit more simple and straightforward for the customer in the front end. So you can do S small and then all caps small, select all those, and then we can create a group and just call it small. We click done, and that now moving forward, if we click save on this, it will only show small, but in the back end, if we have it as S small or all caps small, all those products will show under that particular filter. So that right there is super, super helpful. Now, my recommendation would be definitely have more consistency, right? When you're uploading product, to make sure that you're using the same naming conventions for your sizing and for your colors. I think those two are some of the most important ones. And the same thing with color. You can also create color groups, and I would absolutely recommend doing this. I would not have allure blue or beam blue or black and all these different types of color. It's great that you come up with these names and you have these names, but at the end of the day, the customer just wants to see all blue products, all green products. So whenever you do have multiple of these blues, for example, I would say click on all of them, create a group, just call it blue. Make it easy for the customer. Now, when it comes to collections and the filters, definitely availability, which again is a default one, but availability, size, and color, you definitely want those turned on so that customers can actually go through and see products that they actually want to see. This is particularly helpful if you have tons and tons of products and you don't want to necessarily create a bunch of collections, but you want the customer to be able to have more granular control of what they're seeing on that collection page. And again, this sounds small, but it stops customers from clicking on 10 different products just to be disappointed every time they open up the product page. It actually respects their time and increases your conversion. Now let's move on to the moneymaker. This is the product page. If you're selling clothing, you likely have different colors for your garments. And amateur stores use the drop-down menu for colors. Seven-figure stores use color swatches. And there's those little circles or those little squares that actually have the exact colorway in there. And why do we have color swatches instead of a drop-down? That's because a drop-down requires a click to see the options, and swatches just show the variety instantly. It makes the product look premium. It actually encourages them to buy more than one color, and at a glance, they're able to just see everything. Again, these are micro interactions that save time and makes the user experience just that much better. Now, how do we fix this? Most modern Shopify themes right now, I'm talking about Dawn, Impulse, Palo Alto, like they have built-in color swatches for your store. So you just have to kind of go to your theme settings, look for your products, variant picker. So let's jump in here and I will explain this process. Now, one of the first things that you definitely want to do, because all these new themes work off of this feature that has been added here in the backend. So when you're adding products here in the backend, if I click on, for example, this cashmere sweater that we have here, I don't know that we have, yeah, we have different color options. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is, and I'm gonna show you the backend because now every store needs to do this in order to show color swatches. So this is sort of the new way of doing it. If we go to our products, and I'm gonna go to this Mongolian cashmere sweater, when you add your product information, right, you add your title, description, your media, then you add your color options here. Typically, by default, it's not gonna be connected the way it is. So I'm actually going to disconnect this so I can actually show you the process. Because sometimes it doesn't do it automatically. Now, if your products right now, you open it up and it looks, when you have color variants, it looks like that. It looks gray instead of blue. You see the size looks a little bit blue. If it's gray like that, that means that you won't be able to show color swatches on your store unless maybe you have another app or something. So the idea here is that you have to have your color variants in here, right? Black, blue, forest green. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see the category meta fields. These category meta fields are new fields that they get added automatically depending on your product type. So if we scroll all the way back up, we'll see our product category. If we see our product category, we have sweaters and clothing tops. By default, Shopify is going to give you their recommendation, right, on what this product is based on the description, based on the product title, based on the actual media that you upload. They will say, this actually looks like a sweater and clothing tops. If that's correct, all you have to do is just accept it. It will show up purple, and once you accept it, it will just show up like this, just regular plain text in here. These categories are already sort of predetermined by Shopify, so there's no way to kind of add your own category to this. So they're trying to standardize, right, all of their products across hundreds and hundreds of different stores. So what this does when you add this is you can see there's 9 meta fields added automatically. So we scroll down, these fields get automatically added, plus they get automatically filled in. And again, when they're automatically filled in, you'll see purple, kind of like a purple highlight around them. That just means that they haven't been properly accepted. But once they're like this, then they have been accepted. You need this in order to show the color swatches because the category meta fields are the ones that kind of carry that color swatch. So you can see that here down below, we have black, blue, forest green. They actually have a color swatch attached to them already. So if you have the colors up here as a variant and you have them show up here, all you have to do technically is connect them, is say, hey, these are one and the same. And the way that we do that is we can go here to the category meta field, we can click on color, and then it gives you the option to connect to option. We click there, and then we click color, and now they're synced. Now you can see these are all blue. We click done. Now we see the category that's actually connected to color in the category meta field. Same with size. Size is actually connected to the category meta fields here down with sizes. So now they're connected. Now what this gives you is if, for example, forest green, that's not quite the right hex code color for that forest green. You can actually click on forest green. You can click edit, and we can actually change that hex code color of that forest green. Maybe forest green is maybe a little bit darker, something along those lines, right? And then we can actually save this. And then the other thing is you can do here is if this wasn't blue, this was maybe some kind of pattern, you can also upload your own images. So if you already have a square image of that particular pattern, you can actually upload that instead of an actual solid color swatch like this one right here. So again, this has to be done in the back end for all of your products. And again, some of the newer products that you upload, by default, Shopify will make the connection and you don't have to necessarily do this. And I've seen this. As long as you have good information on the description of the product, the title, the media, it will do a pretty good job of trying to match it up for you. You may have to go in here and fix a couple of these color, the names, maybe the actual hex code. A pro tip here that I would recommend if you're using Google Chrome is download ColorZilla eyedropper tool. You can click on that eyedropper tool, select a color from the page. So if you already have your images uploaded in here, as you can see, I can hover over and get the actual hex code color. I can click on it, and I've already copied that hex code color there in the back end, so I can just edit those color swatches a lot quicker. Now that we have that set up, when we go back to our theme, if we go to our product, again, with every theme being a little bit different, this may change, but let's see if we can see how the cashmere sweater would look. By default, yeah, we already have the color swatches shown in here, but a lot of times you'll have to, what I recommend is toggling that inspector on, and then you can kind of hover over and see where the color swatches are actually located. Sometimes it's under form, sometimes Sometimes you'll see it here on the left-hand side as maybe variants. I've seen it as well. But if we click on it, it gives you a few options. So we can see variant labels. I think that may not be it. I think with Palo Alto, there may be this is the other placement, right, that it could be. Yeah, they have it under theme settings. But I would say majority of themes that I've seen, they actually have it here at the front end. When you're clicking on it, you see variant, and you'll be able to switch out different things in it. But this one, Palo Alto, actually has it under theme settings. So if we go to swatches, you'll see we can actually change the type of swatch. But we're gonna leave it as the theme, and the appearance, we can change it from circle to rectangle. You can see that changing in there. And we also have the ability to show images instead of the actual color swatches, but we're not going to do that. So I think with Palo Alto, we just want to leave it as the theme. Or if I do native, okay, it may be native. The theme, and this is something that I've noticed, there are some older themes that at the time, they had to kind of figure out their own way of doing color swatches because Shopify didn't have this solution. So what Palo Alto is really doing here is kind of giving us the option to like, look, you can use our version of color swatches, which I think it may be the theme, or you can do the native, which is the new Shopify native way of doing it, or you can do none. So you may see this on some of the older OG themes. They still give you the option to do color swatches. And back then, as you can see that list right here on the right below this, you have to kind of manually add all the color options in here and do the color swatch right here or image, versus now the new way kind of gives you a little bit more granular control on like a product per product basis. Now up next, we're still on the product page. I want to talk about text descriptions. You need to tell them about the fabric, you need to tell them about the fit, you need to tell customers about shipping, about returns, about care instructions. These are all important things that you need to have them displayed here within the product page. And not all of it should be dumped into one big paragraph that nobody's really gonna read. That looks very cluttered, especially on mobile. It's gonna be a huge wall of text. The invisible fix here is actually using accordions or drop downs. I know we talked about not having accordions for your size selectors or your variants, but when it comes to this type of information, it's going to be important to do it in some sort of collapsible tab or row. These are, you've probably seen them, just little headers. You click on them, they expand the actual text within. Actually, we have a few options in here: shipping and returns, and materials and spec. Click on them and that section expands. Now, when it comes to these, you will have to create some custom meta fields. No worry, it's a very harmless thing here. Now, let me try to explain this. When it comes to Shopify, we have these templates. So right now we're under the default product template. And as you can see, we have 32 products using this template. Now, if I go to, let's say I go to materials and spec, right? And this materials and spec, obviously for those 32 products, it's gonna be different from one product to the other. It's the same thing as the description. The product description is different from one product to the other. So materials and spec is also gonna be different from one product to the other. Now, if I go to this accordion that's already pre-built in here, if you don't have this accordion, you can always hover in between blocks as long as you're inside of that product pages. And you can click add, and this will show you all the blocks that are available. Again, look for accordion, look for drop down, look for collapsible tabs or collapsible section or collapsible rows. That will give you this option. If we click on that accordion, since we're here within the Palo Alto theme, and we see the text in here, this is text that we've actually typed in, right? And it shows in here. Now, this means that because we've typed in this text, it's gonna show the exact same text for all 32 products. And we don't want that. What we want in here is something that changes from one product to the other. So what we have to do is we have to connect a dynamic source. So think of a dynamic source as something that changes from product to product. Same as the description, same as the product images. So when you click on connect dynamic source, it will give you all the options that you currently have available. I think by default, it's gonna show page. So you probably want to back out and do your product. So here within product, we already have a bunch of new ones created. So for you, it may not show all of these already created, but what we'll do is we'll actually create a brand new one so you can kind of see the process for this. If we scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see we can add a meta field, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. So we're gonna click on add meta field. It's gonna open a new tab, and it's gonna take us to our settings. Inside of your Shopify settings, you'll see meta fields and meta objects right here. So by default, this is already adding a meta field inside of my product. So I'll kind of show you, go back and show you where we came from. So if I go and go all the way back here, if you go through settings and you go to meta fields and objects, this is exactly what you'll see. And really what we're doing is adding a field to our products. So we have to select products. And then in here, we're just clicking on adding a definition. And the definition is gonna be materials and, what was it? Materials and, let me go back to this. Materials and specs, do that. Materials and specs. You don't have to change anything else here except for the type. So for the type, a lot of times we want to do either multi-line text or we may want to do rich text. Either of those options are going to be good, but just know that it depends also on the actual theme itself. So you have to look at the section that you want to add that particular content. So we want to add content to this text right here, which this looks like a rich text. So we have the ability to do bullets, bold, italics, change it from paragraph to something else. So that means that this is a rich text versus this up here. This will be considered just a single line text. So if we go back over here, you'll see that you have the option to do single line text, or you have the option to do multi-line or the rich text. Rich text gives you a few more options. So I would definitely always go with rich text when it comes to these types of blocks. So we click rich text and we click save. Again, all we've done here is we just added the ability. Now, if we go to our products, we now have the ability to add that information in addition to our description. So you have our description up here, but then when we scroll down here to the bottom, we will see materials and specs. And when we click on it, we have sort of like the same tools because we selected rich text as the type of meta object or meta field that we wanted in here. So now we can type in something in here and I can save it for this product, and then I can go to my next product. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that materials and spec is blank because now we have to fill it out for this particular product. So this gives you a little bit more granular control over the information that gets displayed for each product. Now, if we go back to our theme, let me click save and refresh this, because now all we have to do here really is make that connection. So instead of typing it in, even though I know you're looking at the preview for this product, again, you got to think that there's 32 products that are using this exact same template. So you don't want to type it in. What you want to do is connect the dynamic source. Again, we have to go back and select the product. And then in here, we should see materials and specs. And if it's blue like that, that means that it's connected properly. Here in the preview is going to show you that connected dynamic source. But over here in the actual preview of the website, you can see now that now we can type in something as something individual for this product. And if we click save and we change the preview to something else, you will see that this product doesn't even show materials and specs as a drop-down option because there is none present. But as you can see on the left-hand side, we still have that materials and specs in here. It's just not showing because this product, we didn't set up anything for materials and specs in the back. Now, finally, let's talk about the moment they actually decide to buy. When someone clicks add to cart or sometimes add to bag, right? Do they need to get sent to a whole new page, or does a drawer that slides out from the side, is that better? Seven-figure brands almost always use the cart drawer, the one that keeps you within the product page and it gives you all the summary and the information that you need. Why? Because it keeps them shopping. It keeps them on the actual product page. It doesn't interrupt the shopping experience. They are more likely to add a second item if you kind of keep them in that mood. You kind of keep them exactly where they were before, instead of sending them to somewhere new. Now, by default, a lot of these premium themes have this option to do a cart drawer. Sometimes it will be in different places, but let's look at some of the most common denominators here. More than likely, it's going to be under theme settings. So you want to click on theme settings, and more than likely, you'll see either cart, which we see cart in here. Sometimes we see something that says drawer or cart drawer. So you have to kind of look into the theme settings and see what options you have. More than likely, you'll see something that says cart. If we click on it, we have the option to do the cart type. We can either do page or we can do drawer. I know some themes even do pop-up notification. I would not do that. I would just do a drawer. That means that when I add to cart, by default, it's going to open up the drawer and show me that product inside of my cart. In terms of other sort of best practices within that cart drawer, we have cart nodes or gift nodes, which I would definitely enable. I would enable discounts right here within too. That's always good. The additional checkout buttons, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. It depends on really how it looks for your theme. With Palo Alto, let me just kind of take a look and add this to cart. What I don't like sometimes is that it just adds too much to the bottom of the actual cart page or the cart drawer, and it kind of interrupts the flow right of what we're looking at. So if you can have the additional checkout buttons in a succinct way where you have the checkout and then right underneath you maybe have two additional ones, then I think that would be good. But I've seen it sometimes where it just adds like so much, it just stacks all of them, like 6 different different buttons right there, that's definitely a no-go for me when it comes to those additional checkout buttons. But more than likely, what you'll probably end up doing is just have that singular checkout button in here. When they click on that, then on the actual checkout page, they have the option to do any of those expedited shipping, or not expedited, what is it called? Yeah, it's like expedited payment options. Shop Pay, we're talking Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay, etc. And the second most important thing when it comes to the cart drawer is also showing how far away they are from free shipping. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably have some kind of free shipping threshold bar enabled on your store, and you may have it in the actual announcement bar on the rest of the website, but if you have it here within the cart, that would be the way to go. This one, Palo Alto does gives us the option, and is right there within the cart under theme settings. We have our free shipping message, spend amount for free shipping, and then we can put the actual amount right within here, which is great. Maybe it's just that product is on draft. So let me do cashmere. There we go. As you can see, we have that free shipping bar there towards the top. We've added our product and we have all of our goodies here within this cart drawer. Now, if your theme doesn't have any of these options, to me, I think this is one of those things where you want to have this. And if the theme doesn't give it to you by default, my recommendation is to install an app, something like Upcart or Monster Cart Upsells. They give you the option to essentially rebuild your own cart drawer with all these options and even more. It gives you the ability to do upsells and do a bunch of other stuff within the cart drawer. So, but I did want to give you an example, a visual of how this may look. Now, you may have a theme too that may have all that cart info right here on the left-hand side, where you'll see header, you'll see overlay, and maybe you'll see like pop-up or drawer as like another section. And you can edit it on the default product page, you can edit it on the home page, but it will edit all across your website. So just know that there are some premium themes that do have those settings sort of like hidden right within here instead of the actual themes. Now these changes might seem small, right? We're changing a drop down to a button, we're hiding a slideshow, but in e-commerce, you don't win by making $1 million change, you win by making 100 small changes that make the shopping experience that much smoother. When you remove friction, you make money. So there's your homework. Try to do all 5 of these things today. We did it within this video, so I know you can do it within a day. They're simple fixes, so go do them right now. Now, if you found this helpful, hit the like button. So I know that you like these more tactical Shopify tutorials, and if you wanted maybe more of a breakdown, right? Maybe some of the bigger brands and how they're doing it, you can check out this video over here where I break down a 7-figure brand.